topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning, New Jersey. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show, where for the last 17 years, we have brought you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. I have been so excited about this show. We went on TikTok on the 1st of May, and we've got this whole new large audience. And the topic, our expert that we're going to be talking about today, it seems like it happens to everybody. Somebody gets hurt in an automobile accident, a slip and fall, maybe a wrongful death. And I wanted to make sure we had one of the top personal injury firms, and we were so lucky to find the Liability Law Group, and we have the senior partner, Attorney Michael Liability. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning. How are you? Thanks for the introduction.
Hey, I got to tell you, I'm so excited about this show because we have this whole new audience now with TikTok that we didn't have before. And I want to reintroduce the firm and yourself so people know who you are.
Sure. Yeah, let's bring it back to the basics. We've been in practice for 40 years. My father started the firm 40 years ago. I took over about 10 years ago. And, watching him help others is really what inspired me. I started my career helping abused and neglected children in a clinic. And I decided to shift over to personal injury and join my father after working in commercial real estate for a number of years. And it's been incredibly rewarding. We were a bit smaller and we've grown to more of a mid-sized firm for a few reasons. One, I really believe that we did exceptional work and I wanted to help more people. I was trying cases and I didn't have much time to give to clients. So I had to build out more of an infrastructure with very talented people that can also serve personal injury victims just as well as I could. And the other reason we've grown is to make sure that we're overstaffed and we're able to handle any accident that comes into our office. So we don't just do car accidents or trip and falls. We do very complex negligence and medical malpractice cases. So there's a lot of firms that stay, comfortable in just one area of law. I would say more clearly in one area, personal injury, we only do personal injury, but we do every facet of personal injury because we understand the medicine behind it. So we can do complex medical malpractice cases. We handle nursing home abuse and negligence cases. We handle trip and falls, dog bite cases, motorcycle accidents, trucking accidents, regular commercial, auto accidents, you name it. We handle all of them, including, traumatic brain injury cases, infectious disease cases we've handled. So there's a number of cases that we can handle. And by growing, we have hired the right team to be able to handle all of those types of cases. Our paralegals can specialize in multiple fields, and our managing attorneys as well as trial attorneys can handle them as well.
Michael, I guess because it's, I don't know, maybe the part of the country, but I noticed a lot of questions are coming in are about nursing home abuse. I know the New York area sure had their share of it. Um, are you still getting a lot of cases on nursing abuse, nursing
So
home abuse?
So nursing home abuse are typically some of my favorite cases to handle because when I hear stories of the most horrific stories, it inspires me to do right. I wish it never happened to anyone, but um, what we see in nursing homes are typically bed sore cases, sepsis cases, and oftentimes abuse cases or falls. Right. So some of those basic, most common nursing home cases are if an individual is a fall risk and they go into the nursing home as a fall risk, they should not fall within that nursing home. There should be safety protocols put in place. Other pretty basic nursing home cases are bed sores, right? So a bed sore inherently only occurs if there's negligence. So if an individual is laying on a hospital bed, they must be turned, they must be moved. If they're not turned, if they're not moved, if they're not properly cared for, they will develop bed sores. And I had an individual, a veteran, and he was shot while he was serving. And he explained to me that the bed sore that he developed in the nursing home was far more painful than the gun wound that he suffered while he was serving our country. So
Wow.
we've seen bed sores that are, small, and we've seen bed sores the size of entire backs, where you've seen through their spine, and it goes very deep. And we've seen stage 4 bed sores as well that are extremely painful. They're horrific. They get infected, and they can cause people to die.
Uh, Here's another question from our TikTok audience. They want to know, it seems like we're starting this coming time in June, July, August, hurricanes. Does your firm handle property damage claims?
Our firm doesn't handle property damage claims. We specifically deal with individuals that are injured. So no matter what type of injury it is, we can handle it. But property damage is a separate type of claim. There aren't that many attorneys that do it well. But if anyone reaches out to our firm at 516-227-2662, I'd be happy to put them in touch with a property damage attorney that could help them.
Michael, what do you see more of, auto accident injuries or slip and fall injuries?
Both are very common. Trip and fall accidents can happen in numerous different manners. We had a really, really cold and icy winter. So there were many individuals that fell this past winter. And there's a duty for property owners and municipalities to clear that snow. But we also see trip and falls or slip and falls all the time in stores, in supermarkets, in retail stores, where there's soap or other substances on the floor. We also see trip and falls on sidewalks where there's a defective sidewalk that should have been repaired as well. So there's many trip and fall and slip and fall cases. There's also a ton of car accidents as well.
This is from YouTube. This is not a question. I was scrolling through, saw your show coming up, recognized your name. You handled my aunt's auto accident injury, and I just want people to know your firm did an incredible job. That's a nice one. You never know. You never know who's listening. Thank you for that. Michael,
And that's what makes it tough sometimes, is that our clients, being an attorney is not as glorious as people may think, because oftentimes you're getting scolded by judges, you're getting scolded by defense attorneys. It's a very labor intensive job, so our team is working extremely hard, and then our clients are in pain, right? So it's very hard to deliver and make people that happy, coming from something that's so horrific. So for a long time, we didn't advertise. We don't advertise really. But when you asked for me to join the show, I was happy to, because to me, this is helping people to understand what their rights are. And by telling the stories that our client just told, is extremely important to me, right? I think the only way people should advertise is by truthful stories. And that's powerful.
You know, people who have been in an auto accident, a lot of them try to handle it themselves with these big insurance companies. And I know from my brother that it was the biggest mistake he said he made. He said, I thought I was going to save some money. I thought I was a great negotiator. And after it was all over with, I know I lost a lot of money by not handling a firm. And Mike, I want you to talk about, because sometimes people think they can just go up against these big insurance companies. Job is to give you the least amount of money rather than hire a firm like yours.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty easy answer. For a serious accident, it's nearly impossible to handle it by yourself. And the reason why I say that is, think about building a house, right? You may know how to build a home. You may be a carpenter, but you don't know how to do the plumbing. You don't know how to build the foundation. You may not know how to do the electrical work, and you couldn't do the grading and the architectural work all on your own, right? So when it comes to a personal injury case, there's 1,000 different things that matter. And the insurance company sets reserves, they set authority on certain cases. It's based upon who the attorney is or who the client is. So our firm, luckily for the past 40 years, has ranked very high with the insurance company. We put most of our cases into litigation. We push until we get on the trial calendar and get the best number. Once the insurance companies see that it's an individual pro se arguing themselves, they're going to set a much lower authority or reserve on that individual case. And they're not going to go higher because they have no reason to do so. There's no threat by an individual as there would be from a law firm. I can put it into a lawsuit. I can do all the discovery on a case, and I can go get a verdict for much higher than what they would be offering. An individual doesn't have that power, right? So, you mentioned something about your brother believing that he was a strong negotiator. That's just one facet of the game, right? So when I negotiate, I'm typically talking about leverage and evidence, right? So if I have really strong leverage, really strong evidence, I either tell them that I'm going to push them where I want them to go, where they have to go, or they're going to give us the number that we want. That's not really persuading people to buy a home or persuading people to buy something in sales. That's really me building the case on the back end and putting it before the insurance company and telling them, this is our case. It's worth $1 million. If you don't pay us the $1 million, I may get 2 or 3 at trial and get a bad faith verdict against you. That's a fact. It's not me posturing or negotiating. That's a fact. An individual doesn't have that ability. They're going to say, I'm in so much pain. But everybody says that. The insurance companies are ruthless. They don't care. So, without knowing the game, it's extremely difficult to come in. If you're involved in a fender bender and it's not significant and you maybe went to physical therapy for 3 weeks, by all means, you can probably call the insurance company and get a few dollars from them. And that's not a case that my law firm would handle. Obviously, you can call us and we'll speak to you and we'll guide you and we'll consider if there's a way that we can help you. But we don't typically take cases without serious injuries. But sometimes people don't understand or know if they've had serious injuries without MRIs. So when clients call us, we often say, you should consult with a doctor, you should get MRIs and speak to them because the injuries can get worse over time. Hopefully they get better. And if they do get better, then it could be a phone call that you can make to the insurance company for a very small claim, rather than something that my firm would specialize in.
Hey, Michael, talk about skin in the game. I got to tell people, a lot of people don't know how you charge. they don't know you do this on a contingency basis. Can you explain that?
Sure. So personal injury firms throughout New York and New Jersey charge a contingency fee. So if we're not successful, then the clients don't owe us anything. So I'd say maybe half the phone calls that I get, individuals say, well, I can't pay you. And I say, that's not a problem, because if I don't get you a settlement that covers my fee, then you don't owe me anything anyways. And on top of that, we also cover the expenses. So the expenses can get large. If you're going to trial, they can exceed six figures, which most individuals cannot cover. But on a normal routine motor vehicle case, it could be a few $1,000s. In that particular circumstance, our firm will still upfront the cost of the expenses. If a lawyer ever tells you or asks you to upfront the cost of the expenses, that's usually a sign that they're not doing well enough or they don't believe in your case, and it's a red flag. So you want to go to an attorney that will cover the expenses, that works on a contingency fee, regulated by the government. And clients often try to negotiate fees, or they ask us, how our fees are set. It's set by the government. It's standard in the industry. We don't change or alter our fees, and we follow what the government has set for personal injury firms to charge.
Here's another TikTok question. Great show. I'm wondering, how long do you have to file a claim on a personal injury?
So you have 2 years in New Jersey. New York is 3 years. New Jersey is 2 years. And there are caveats and exceptions to that. If you're suing municipalities or the government, wrongful death cases, medical malpractice cases. So on a standard motor vehicle case, it's 2 years, but there are a lot of exceptions. So you have to call an attorney right away. It is extremely important. If you don't, you can miss certain deadlines. There are documents that we have to file within a few weeks of the accident. If you do not file those documents, then you blow certain timeframes. So as soon as you get into an accident, before you call the insurance company, you should be calling an attorney. And I've given this example on the show before, and I'll give a quick example where an individual called me a few years ago, and he said, Mike, I was involved in an accident. I was making a left-hand turn, and I was struck. And my first instinct is, if you're making a left-hand turn, there's a presumption in the vehicle and traffic laws that you're at fault for the accident. But I said, explain a little bit more to me. When were you when were you struck in the accident? What happened? He said, well, I made a left-hand turn. I was proceeding for about 15 to 30 seconds, and then I was hit in the rear. So the first way that he explained it, he was at fault. The second way that he explained it, the real way he explained it, he was 0% at fault and 100% in the right. So it's really important that clients call us right away, because if you say that to the insurance company, they may mark the file as a denial, and they may not pay you for a significant amount of time till we push and push and push, because they heard the word left turn. And it goes back to that statute of limitations question, how long you have to file lawsuits, they ask you, because there may be timeframes that you blow. There may be ways to explain to the insurance company that are really important that you speak to a lawyer first before you explain it to them.
Michael, we do our show out of Florida. And I know with New York and New Jersey, there are people who live in New York but work in New Jersey and vice versa. Are the laws different in New Jersey versus New York when it comes to personal injury?
They happen to be very different. Generally the same premise. If you're involved in an accident, you're hurt, and the other party was negligent, you have a case, so you can go back to the basics on that. But at the end of the day, there's different statute of limitations. You have 3 years to sue in New York. You have 2 years in New Jersey. No fault. The insurance coverage works differently in New York and New Jersey. There's different case law. Court systems work differently in New York and New Jersey. For a long time in New York, and there was a recent law change, a very revolutionary catastrophic law change here in New York, where you cannot sue if you're 51% fault for an accident, and that's the same as New Jersey. So for the past 40 to 50 years, there hasn't really been what we call tort reform or a change in personal injury law. But now Hochul just passed a new law that now mirrors New Jersey. So in New York and New Jersey, you now are not going to be able to sue if you're 51% at fault for an accident. It's something called modified comparative negligence.
I got to tell Michael, because we do a lot of due diligence, we watch a lot of personal injury shows across the country. Most of the shows out there are kind of touting their firm, how great they are. This show here, if you can't tell, we are educating you. And I also want to come across that don't try to handle this yourself, especially if there's an injury involved. It doesn't cost you anything to call Michael's firm. Michael, how do people reach you?
So our main line is 516-227-2662, 516-227-2662. That's our main line. If you'd like to send us a text, you can text us at 516-725-2552, 516-725-2552. You could call either of those. You can text the second number, and you can also email a new case to intake@tllgllp.com, or you can Google the Licatese Law Group, and on our website, you can start chatting with us.
Michael, we can't thank you enough. Michael, we do another show, a New York show, be coming up this month. Again, especially for TikTok, it's thank you so much for all your questions. I know Michael appreciates it. Michael, we will see you soon. Thank you for so much great information.
Thank you for having me. Take care.
It's the folks, I'm telling you, when it comes time to personal injury, it could be a dog bite. It doesn't have to be an auto accident or slip and fall. Contact the Licatese Law Group, 516-227-262-2662. That's going to do it for us today. We'll be back again with you for TikTok. We'll be with you tomorrow. And for all of our other platforms, we'll be with you next week. Have a good week. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.